Welcome, friends. Amid the noise of the busy station, a single mother stood with her little boy clinging to her chest. Her hands trembled and her eyes were filled with tears. She stepped up to the ticket counter and whispered softly, "I don't have money, but I need to go home with my son." The clerk paused and looked at her. His face didn't hold the hardness of an ordinary clerk. Instead, there was a gentle calmness in his eyes. He gazed at the mother and child for a moment. Then with a faint smile he said, "You don't have to worry." Her heart pounded with both fear and hope. She thought he would turn her away like everyone else. But suddenly, the man pulled out a special card from his wallet and, in a warm voice, said, "This ticket is yours, and so is the rest of the journey. You don't know it yet, but I'm not just a clerk. I'm actually the owner of this company. And from today, you'll never be alone again." Tears streamed down her face as she hugged her son tighter. That moment became the most precious memory of her life. Friends, if this story touched your heart, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share, because spreading kindness is the purpose of our channel. Soul of Kindness, your very own channel. Welcome, friends. The mother stood silently, holding her little boy close. She lowered her head, ashamed of her situation. The man behind the counter carefully looked at the paper in his hand, then at her tired face. He noticed the worn-out shoes on her feet, the faded straps of the baby carrier, and the way her son clung to her as if she was his whole world. For a moment, silence filled the station. The sound of trains arriving and leaving echoed in the background, but between them there was only stillness. The man took a deep breath and in a soft voice said, "Sometimes life tests us in ways we can't understand. But no mother should ever have to choose between dignity and survival." He slid the ticket across the counter, his eyes filled with compassion. The mother looked up in shock, her lips trembling. She wanted to speak, to say thank you, but the words refused to come. The little boy tugged at her shirt and whispered, "Mommy, are we going home now?" She hugged him tightly, nodding with tears streaming down her cheeks. That stranger, who she thought was just a clerk, had just changed her entire life. Friends, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. This is the purpose of our channel, spreading kindness everywhere. Soul of Kindness, your very own channel. Welcome, friends. The single mother stood silently at the counter, her arms wrapped tightly around her little boy, as if she feared the world might take him away. Her head was lowered, her shoulders trembling with shame. The man on the other side of the counter noticed everything. The tears she tried to hide, the cracked shoes on her feet, and the way her child pressed his tiny face into her chest for comfort. For a moment, the noisy station seemed to grow quiet. The rushing passengers, the announcements, the screech of trains, all of it faded into the background. It was as if time itself paused, allowing only the mother's broken whisper to echo. "I don't have money, but I need to go home." The man's heart ached. He wasn't just looking at a passenger. He was looking at a story, at a woman who carried both pain and courage in her tired eyes. He thought of his own childhood, of nights when he too had gone to bed hungry. That memory returned to him like a knife in his chest. Slowly he leaned closer, his voice calm and filled with warmth. "Life is cruel sometimes, but you are not alone. A mother's love deserves more than struggle." He slipped a ticket across the counter, but not just a ticket. He also placed a crisp card on top of it. With steady eyes he said, "Take this. Your journey won't end in despair. I'm not just a clerk. I own this station, this company. And today, I want to be the reason you believe in kindness again." The woman froze, her lips trembling as tears poured freely down her face. Her son looked up at her, tugged her sleeve, and asked softly, "Mommy, are we really going home now?" She bent down, hugging him tightly, her sobs muffled in his little coat. She could barely speak, but in her heart she knew this moment was a miracle. The man behind the counter silently watched, his own eyes glistening. For him, wealth had never felt so meaningful until now. Friends, if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and share. Because this is what we believe in, spreading love, hope, and kindness. Soul of Kindness, your very own channel. Welcome, friends. The little boy's innocent eyes sparkled with hope as he clung to his mother's arm. She held him close, still trembling, still unable to believe what had just happened. Moments ago, she was a woman drowning in despair. Now she was being lifted into light by the kindness of a stranger. The man behind the counter who, moments earlier, seemed like an ordinary clerk watched her silently. He could see the weight of years of struggle etched into her face, the quiet battles she had fought alone, the strength she carried for her son. He knew in that instant this was not just about a train ticket. This was about giving her dignity back. He gently pushed the ticket closer and said softly, almost like a promise, "From today, you will never have to whisper your pain again. You and your son deserve a life of respect, not pity." The woman's tears flowed freely. She wanted to thank him, but her voice cracked under the flood of emotions. All she could manage was a whispered, Why would you do this for me?" For a moment he hesitated, then smiled with humility. "Because once someone believed in me when I had nothing, and that changed my life forever. Now it's my turn to believe in you." Her knees weakened. She almost collapsed, but quickly steadied herself, clutching her son tighter. The boy, sensing his mother's tears, reached up with his tiny hand and wiped her cheek. "Don't cry, Mommy. We're going home now," he whispered in his innocent voice. Those words shattered every wall in the man's heart. His eyes welled up, and for the first time in years, he let a tear fall. The station around them carried on. Trains roared. Passengers hurried past. But in that small corner, a miracle had unfolded. 2 lives had been changed forever, not by wealth, not by power, but by kindness. The mother turned to leave, holding the ticket as if it were the key to a new life. But before she walked away, she looked back at him with trembling lips and whispered, "You didn't just give me a ticket. You gave me hope." He simply nodded, his heart full. And in that quiet exchange, the world felt a little brighter. Friends, if this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, comment, and share, because kindness has the power to change lives. Soul of Kindness, your very own channel.